Hi everyone on YouTube. I'm going to be doing a tier list on the winter 2023 season. There's not going to be a lot of editing in this video because I'm trying to get this out promptly since I said in my previous video I was going to do it. And the season just started, so if I waste time, I'll be talking about it pretty late. I'm pretty much just going to be covering the anime shows that are coming out. I'm not going to be talking about any movies, OVAs, ONAs, anything of the sort like that, just these. I'm not particularly interested in that other stuff very often. There'll be the occasional things that I will, but movies, nah, that's a no-go for me. I don't watch movies. Winter is kind of the time of year where there's just a couple shows that dominate the entire season, and then everything else really is just kind of eh. There's always the occasional show that will rise up into the ranks to be pretty solid. I know that happened in the case of My Dress Up Darling. A lot of people beforehand didn't really have a lot of interest in it, but then when it started airing, it picked up steam and it became one of the better shows of that season. And I see that likely happening with maybe one or two shows this season. I think the big thing about this season compared to the last season of Winter was there isn't huge titles like there were then. We don't have another season of Attack on Titan, and we don't have a season of Demon Slayer airing at the same time. To save time, I'm going to throw a lot of the shows that I just feel like don't really have a lot of popularity and they don't really interest me. I'm just going to toss them into the Nah section. Alright, so let's first start off the tier list with a show that has some popularity around it this season, but I disagree with being that high. I think My Life is Inukai-san's Dog is not gonna be good. I think it's gonna be a very bad Ichi show, and just based off of the cover image and the title, this appears to me to be almost a blatant ripoff of Dog and Scissors. I don't know if there's some sort of staff or studio relationship between the two titles or what. I didn't really like that title, so I don't see why I would like this one. Bungo Stray Dogs' fourth season is finally here, and for a lot of people that have been following it, they are very excited. I think this is a really enjoyable show, and I like a lot of the characters in it. I think it does a lot of things that we don't really see that often currently, and that's why I can appreciate it. I think Dazai is definitely one of the best characters in it, and I think it will probably be the best anime this season. I didn't want to get too heated early on into this, but The Fruit of Evolution, this is going to be an absolutely bad anime. This is just some straight hot trash isekai, and I'm so sick of these bad shows getting additional seasons when there's other things that have to wait so long or go on hiatus for however long because they can't take up certain slots. For instance, 86, we had to wait forever for that to finish, which was goated, but we had to wait. Instead, we got some trash like this. I'm gonna definitely be hate watching. Another show is going to be The Ice Blade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World. This looks like just another cringy fantasy isekai show that made its way into the season. I understand why shows like these continue to get it made because they get so popular. I think it's unfortunate that myself and many others continue to watch them, but the show likely has nothing of value and it's just mid to bad. Chilling in my 30s after getting fired from the Demon King's army. This is once again in the same vein. It's a little bit different type of fantasy subgenre, but I'm really tired of seeing them get made. I think that the shtick is really just not that good, and a lot of the shows that come from it don't really have any substance either. It seems to fit in the same vein as all the other ones. The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. I think the cover image does look very nice, but unfortunately, this is just something I'm not going to be watching. That's likely to get dropped. Alright, now we're over the fantasy isekai stuff, so we got 3 more to add. We have Inspector Season 2. I think the first season of this had very little to offer. It was just a very mid show. It's possible that it can offer more, but from the peak of what Season 1 had, I really doubt there's anything more this show could do. Next we have Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible. I think this will be just like a very bad romance anime. It doesn't really look like it has much to offer. And lastly we have Mononogatari. The cover image looks kind of cool. It seems like something to do with spirits. I just don't think that this will have much good going for it. I could be wrong. I think while there is some interest in campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill, I think this will be a skip for me. I think that if you're somebody that likes the isekai slice of life type thing, this could be something very enjoyable for you. But for myself, I'm not really in a slice of life type of mood. If you are, like, this could certainly be a good show for you. Reborn to Master the Blade, from Hero King to Extraordinary Squire. This show could definitely have potential. I think I like the artwork and I think I like the concept of it. I think I'll have to see how it plays out. Potential can always disappear really quickly, so we'll just have to see if this is something that really deserves to have potential. And I think that The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. This is kind of the same type of thing. I think this show could be good, or it could be quite bad. We'll just have to see. I think, and I know based on the hype, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but I think The Misfit of the Demon King Academy Season 2 is not going to be that great. I don't think it's a banger. I think it's quite average. I watched the first season recently, and I didn't really get the hype from it. I think it did some interesting things, but I think overall, it kind of just recycled some of the same tropes we've been seeing. And I didn't put this in the Nah category because I wanted to talk about it since I was familiar with it, but Sorceress Stabber Orphan is getting, I believe, a 3rd season, and I think that this is a really bad show, and I don't really get why they continue making additional adaptations for it. I watched all of the first season in 2020. I really didn't think it had that much going for it. I really tried to give it a chance in the 2nd season, and I ended up just dropping it. I think that there's not really much going here. I think that the Fire Hunter, don't really know much about it. I'm 50-50 on if it's going to be like good or bad. I'm not really working with much off the cover art here, so you'll just have to bear with me and we'll have to see how it pans out. I think the same can be said of Giant Beasts of Ours. I think it looks somewhat interesting. And finally, the last one that might have potential is The Legends of Heroes. What I'm seeing, it looks like some sort of like alternate, like medieval history type thing, which could be cool. I just really can't tell. The cover art does look cool though. So some shows that I just think are just going to be average. I think that's going to be something like The Reincarnation of the Strongest Exorcist in Another World. It's not really doing much for me. I think we've seen a lot of this type of isekai recently. Average to bad at best. Then we have Spy Classroom. I'm kind of over the spy trope type thing. I think Assassination Classroom is probably the pinnacle of this type of thing. And other than that, I think everything else I've seen I've been kind of disappointed in. I'll give this one a shot, but I'm not expecting much. Next one is Tomo-chan as a Girl. This just looks to be a very average romance anime. Not really expecting much here either. And finishing off average for right now, I'm going to throw in Ningen Fushin. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world. It looks interesting. I think that it kind of has the same issue as some of the previous titles we've talked about. I think I'm putting a lot of faith in the cover art on this one, but this will be an average show. I don't expect too many people to have the same interest in the show, even though it does seem to be quite popular. But don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro's 2nd season is here. For me, this is going to be a banger. This is one of the only things that I am up to date on out of really any anime. I read the manga pretty consistently when there's updated chapters. I think that it has a lot of good going for it, and I think at face value people misunderstand it. I think that it's a very wholesome anime and it's about romance where the two are trying to uplift one another, and I think that that's a very good type of story to watch. And you know, maybe I read it at a time when I was bitter against Rent-A-Girlfriend, and maybe that made me a bit more favorable towards it. I guess we'll see with the 2nd season. So we got some more things that are popular that I disagree with. I think that Bofuri is not really that good. I tried to get into the 1st season and I didn't really enjoy myself, so this is something I'll be skipping. I think if you enjoy this type of show, then hey, go for it. Another one, as we've earlier talked about in the same vein, By the Grace of the Gods Season 2. Wholesome slice of life that you just chill and watch if you enjoy that type of thing. There's a possibility that Farming Life in Another World could also be in that same vein. I do see that one of the themes is harem. Take that with a grain of salt. I could be entirely wrong about it. I'm not going to watch it, so you'll just have to let me know. And unfortunately, after talking so highly of it in my previous video, I'm going to be skipping something within the same subgenre, and that is Endo and Kobayashi Live. I think unfortunately, don't have interest in this subgenre. I think otome isekai is just not my thing. I think if that's something you enjoy, then go ahead, but I think this seems to be more of the same villainous otome shtick. Ayakashi Triangle, this is just gonna be some ecchi trash. The Vampire Dies in No Time Season 2. Never watched the first season. I'm not really into gag humor, which I assume that it has some of that. If you are, hey, maybe that's something that you should watch the first and second season of. Now, a couple seasons ago, you might have seen an anime called I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years and Maxed Out My Level. I tried to watch that anime and I dropped it. I think saving 80,000 gold in another world for my retirement is in the same vein of isekai, and I just don't like it. I think it's pretty boring and it has very little to offer. I could end up being wrong, but that's just what I get from it. Alright, so there's only a few more to get through and then we're finished. And I think some of them are bangers, and I think some you'll be surprised about, and even quite possibly upset. We'll just have to see. The Ice Guy and His Cool Female Colleague. I think that this has potential to be a pretty good anime. I like this type of romance anime, and I think this is right down my alleyway. This is going to be something that I try and keep up with and watch every episode as it airs. Revenger. I like the cover art, but it reminds me of cover art that I also remember liking, and that was Bakumatsu, and I thought that that was a really bad second season. So I'll give Revenger a chance. Kena the Great Snow Sea. The cover art reminds me of Golden Kamuy, and I like that a lot. The faces do look a bit rough in the cover art as well, but maybe it can surprise me and be something good. Alright, now, time to do the most controversial thing in this video. Tokyo Revenger second season is a skip for me. I don't think the first season was good, and I dropped it partway through. I don't think it has anything really that interesting to offer, and I don't really like the vibe it gives off. That's just me. I know a lot of other people really like it, and that's why I think it was pretty controversial to say nah. And now for the actually controversial thing. And that's to say that Vinland Saga Season 2 is a nah. Unfortunately, the reason why I'm skipping Vinland Saga Season 2 is not because I think it's bad, it's because I've never watched Season 1. It's one of those things that everybody has that's stuck in their plan to watch list that they haven't got around to. One day, as we all say, we'll get around to it. Unfortunately, that day is not here, and until then, anything additional that comes out from Vinland Saga, I will not watch until I start it. Now on to something that I think is way too low, and that is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon? I think that this is way too low, and I think a lot more people should have this on their radar. The fourth season was very good and did a lot of developing for this part that just came out. This is the second part of the fourth season. I'm expecting it to be a banger. Season 2 did a lot of harm to this anime. I think it's in a good place after Season 3 and the first part of Season 4. And if you haven't returned to this anime, you should think about it. It's pretty good, and I will probably continue saying that as I have. So 2 shows left, and there's only 2 choices I can make. On one hand, I upset you, as I just did with 2 other shows. On the other hand, I make you happy. And both are not going to happen. Nier Automata has potential. The game looked great, but that is also the problem with a lot of things related to games. When you look at movies and shows that have come out across the years, a lot of it is not good. Now I know you're about to say, but what about Arcane? Arcane is kind of an outlier. If you want to go and watch some hot trash, I suggest you watch any of the Resident Evil movies. And that's kind of why I think that it has potential. I need to know if there's substance there. Now finally, Trigun Stampede. I think that this also has potential. I think that this one's a little easier to say that it has potential and not really offend anybody. I don't know if this is an adaptation of the original or if it's a one-off. I don't really follow anime that closely. I kind of like to come in with an open mind and not really know anything about it and develop my opinions afterwards. That's why I do a lot of face value judgment on stuff. 50-50. It works, it doesn't work. I watch a lot of average anime, so you go figure how much, how often that works. Trigun Stampede for me, I really couldn't get into Trigun. The animation was a little bit too old for me, so if it is an adaptation, I'm looking forward to it. If it's a one-off and it's not related to the main story from Trigun, I'll definitely give it a shot. I think either way it has a lot of potential, and I think it could do a lot to bring old and new fans like together. Alright, so that is the end of my tier list. I know that everybody has their own personal preferences and everything, and you know, depending on your mood, you swing towards one type of show, and that's just really how it is. I think everybody has their personal preferences, and this is just a tier list. I think it's fun to do tier lists, you know, just see where everything is and see how you align with that tier list as well. I also wanted to just get this across really quickly so that I was, you know, prompt, because I said in the previous video, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get out this video and I'm gonna get out another video. And since this season kind of already started, like there's a couple first episodes out for some of these shows already, I just want to get this out real quickly. If you would like me to put in more effort and just not like off the dome like this one was, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to fix that in the future with any of them. This is actually the first video on this channel that I've done with like absolutely no script, so let me know how it turned out.